To day 5 of our
Final
day. Yeah,
Last
the
day.
final countdown.
For you all that have been here the whole time, thank you. We appreciate it. We're seeing a lot of familiar names as they start joining us for this live stream. And again, there is a little bit of delay, so we're going to let y'all catch up.
Yeah, and say what's up. Tell us what your favorite part was. If you've been here for all 4 days or even just a couple days, tell us what your favorite part is that you've learned so far. If you just are somehow tuning in on the last day, you're in luck. We'll definitely do a recap and get you the info that you need. So let us know where you're tuning in from. And if you have missed the wonderful instruction that we've been giving throughout the week, it's not too late. You can go here and grab the recordings to everything we've done for the last 4 days, as well as what we're going to do here today at PlayYourCourt.com/recordings. Right now, there's for $49. I believe Sunday at midnight, we turn this into a course that is then sold on our website for $199. So if you want these recordings, I would suggest buying them before they cost 4 times as much money. Day 5. Yeah, math. The math is definitely math in there. What are your thoughts, Nate? Do you want me to do a full summary of day 1 through 4 now, or do we do that at the end? What do you want to do here for the people?
I think let's do the recap. And then it comes in day 5 is very brief. But yeah, let's go ahead and put it together. And let's do the recap and then add day 5. I like that.
I'm going to do the recap and show you the workbook step by step as we do this. And this also, for those of you who asked yesterday, yes, it is part of the recordings. When you buy the recordings, you also get this wonderful workbook. But I think this is a good place to share here. And if you guys have questions, fire them in there as I go through anything from days 1 through 4. So we started off day 1 really talking about what I think a lot of you thought were going to be fundamentals, and then a lot of you probably realized you actually weren't doing them correctly. So I think most of us have been taught the continental grip. That base knuckle on our index finger needs to be on bevel 2, not on the top bevel here, but 1 bevel over. I think almost all of us have heard that, but not a lot of us had heard that the heel pad also needs to be on bevel 2. And we showed you a drill to sort of litmus test whether you have a true continental grip or not, which is doing downs with the blade of your racket. So hitting the ball down towards the ground with the blade of your racket. We then talked about the stance, and there's not really a drill here. You just need to understand what correct and incorrect looks like. We talked a lot. I'm going to zoom in here. We talked a lot about how getting this back toe, even with this front heel here, is extremely important to get that hip pulled back and ensure that you are going to get rotation from your hips and shoulders. That was the stance. We then get into the penalty box drill, and this is a drill that just reminds you to keep your tossing arm all the way up and not to let it drop, because your head will fall if your arm falls. And then we talked about...
Oh, no, what does it influence?
Oh, I'm sorry. It makes the shoulder, hip, rear... It's so hard to say.
It's a lot.
The shoulder,
tilt,
hip, rear pelvic tilt, where you get lined up here, where basically you're kind of coiling up like you're going to do a cartwheel. And so your hips and your shoulders are all of a sudden, instead of parallel with the ground, they start to tilt up and back like you're going to shoot a bow and arrow into the atmosphere.
Really important.
Really, really important, which is why I almost forgot it. Step 4, day 1 was a busy day. Step 4, we actually talked about really how to toss the ball and where to toss the ball. We talked about getting rid of all of the bend in our elbow, getting rid of the bend in our wrist, making sure we're holding that ball in our fingertips, and that when we open our hand, that happens at eye level, and that our goal would be to toss the ball about 6 to 8 inches in front of the baseline or your front foot, depending on how long your arms are, depending on how high you jump. But the general idea is if you were to reach straight out, drop the ball down, that is a pretty good rough estimate of where our target for your toss would be. We got into day 2, and day 2 really, if you want to add 15 miles per hour to your serve, and we know you do because that's why you're here, this is where I think a lot of the juice comes from. Once you've got your fundamentals from day 1 right, we talked about this right to left drill where, and really the drill is quite literally choke up on your racket and just salute with your racket. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. You'll see here that Nate is taking the blade of his racket and moving in a right to left motion to salute over his head. We then got into the elbow the ball drill. And really the key here was just understanding that we don't want you to think about placing your racket down your back to get that racket drop. We want you to think about attacking the ball with your elbow. And so the drill was quite literally toss the ball up and try and hit it with your elbow to feel what that would look like. And then we finished day 2 with a pulse-up drill to understand how to get your feet involved. And we talked a lot about how pushing your feet into the ground is creating the leverage that you need to actually activate that kinetic chain and really whip that racket drop up through to strong contact. You going to take over day 3 and day 4? My voice is tired. You want me to keep
Yeah, you
going?
get warmed up. Yeah, I can take it over.
It's going to slow down considerably if I hand it to you.
So day 3 was all about rhythm, right? We were trying to establish the cadence to make all of this more organic. So the way to sock drill, very simple. You just take a couple tennis balls, 3 is ideal, and put it in a long tennis sock. They sell a bunch of these mechanisms to feel this.
Don't let them trick you. Just grab a long sock out of your sock
you can
drawer.
do it for free. As long as you have a can of tennis balls. There you're going to work on the figure 8 drill to create the rhythm, the cadence of going from left, right, left with the feet. From there, we want to get the tennis racket in your hand. And a lot of times when you hold a tennis racket, you want to squeeze it. So therefore, we're going to take the bottom 2 fingers off, and you're going to do the same figure 8 drill with the tennis racket. This is going to keep things fluid and keep the racket moving. From there, we did the figure 8 drill with the racket, just like we did with the weighted sock. I believe that was it for day 3.
Yeah.
Yep. Day 4. Day 4 was all about learning how to lead with the edge of the racket, pronation, and the contact point. So what was really important here is that before your racket becomes flush with the ball, meaning the strings flush with the ball, the racket edge has to lead up to it. Now, from there, as your racket edge leads up to it, you actually could learn how to slice, right? Because you're leading with the edge and then just opening the racket face. Really simple drill to make this common practice. Now, from the contact point, in order to learn the contact point, we did the trap the ball drill. This is best used on a flat curtain. A lot of indoor centers have these. You're rolling up the ball on the curtain and simply trapping it with your arm extended. If you don't have a flat curtain, you can do it on a chain link fence found in a lot of parks and whatnot. A little bit more difficult. Another way to do it is to just drop 10 feet behind the baseline, hit up and hold the contact point as if you were on the back fence.
Last but not least,
Yep.
day 4.
Day 4, thumb down drill. This is all about internal shoulder rotation so that we know that from supination, your hand turns out into pronation. But as it pronates, what you also want to do is the racket face starts to turn out. It will cause your thumb to point down. You can do this manually. So you can be from here, palm in, right? Or excuse me, palm out to palm in to palm out. And then it wants to finish with the thumb down. That is going to give you that internal shoulder rotation. And then day 5,
It's
all about the legs
today. All about the legs. I will say this for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time and you just heard all of that and you're like, holy guacamole, that's a lot of information. So I break this up in 5 days and give you these specific drills to go out and do one day at a time. So I know I sound like a broken record. Highly recommend you grab these recordings and break this out into these 5 different days and get the reps in and make sure you do actually add 15 miles per hour to your serve. Day 5, Senior Nate Dog.
Yep.
I've got a very Mexican theme today.
Avocado,
Guacamole.
yeah.
Senor.
Yeah.
I don't know where I came from there, but all right.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Day 5.
All right, so Kovacs loading drill. This is about using the lower body and putting it all together. We haven't talked a lot about the legs. Now, this is always a controversy where we say the serve, the way that you load your body is a lot like throwing a shot put. We didn't make that up. Mark Kovacs, who happens to be very smart as a doctorate in sports science, the leading expert in biomechanics in tennis, former professional player, guy's just really smart, right? So his assertion was that basically when you load down for a shot put, the way that you corkscrew, you load your body, that's going to look a lot more like a shot put than throwing. We're not talking about the actual throwing mechanism. When you throw the ball, that's more linear. That doesn't apply to tennis. In tennis, it'd be more like throwing the bomb, like you were throwing, like, quarterback, like Jaden Daniels couldn't connect with anyone in the end zone last night.
I was going to wear my Commander's hat today, and it doesn't seem appropriate for that.
All right, so let's take a look at the demo. We're going to show you how to load correctly.
Let's get it. Who's that handsome fella?
Oh, look at that guy. Short haircut. So first thing I'm doing here is I'm just putting the ball back behind my heel. I'll let it play so you can see that. All right, so you'll see there I'm pointing to the direction of it. I'm actually going through the motion. Now, this part is important. I'm going to put this in slow-mo. Back up just a little bit. You can see I'm really mimicking the motion of the serve, and I'm dropping down. This is where my elbow would be dropping down for that archer's pose, as if I'm shooting an arrow up to the sky. Now from here, I'm going to grab the ball. My legs are still bent, and this is where the shot put comes in. You can see the ball is up under my chin. The legs are loaded. My eyes and left arm are up. And the launch position from here, you can see why it looks like shot put.
So I will ask this question for clarity, because I know when we work with people live, we have seen some confusion. So obviously, like, we don't actually hit our serve like a shot put. It's more about the legs is really what this drill is about, right? So our upper body, because I remember in our last serve workshop teaching this, and then somebody trying to get their racket under their chin all of a sudden, or do just weird things. So this is just for you to understand how your legs actually play a role in everything we're talking about here. Don't think about changing your upper body as if you were throwing a shot put.
That's right. Yeah, this is just about corkscrewing, so coiling your hips and shoulders, and then launching up. You're landing on your non-dominant foot as your dominant foot kicks back. All right, so let's take a look at some serving examples here. So we got asked this last time as far as platform and pinpoint. So on the platform, remember the platform is just that your feet are apart and they stay apart. They don't come together. So you'll see the loading phase right there. Oops, sorry, this is the pinpoint. I lied to you. I pulled up the wrong video, but that's okay. So pinpoint, the only difference, you can see my feet are apart, and then as I go through the motion, my back foot pulls up. That's the pinpoint. Now, this is the loading phase. So you can kind of see where where the hitting hand, its position under my chin and the body coiled, right? This is where you can get kind of that shot put analogy. Now, this is key. We talk about this all the time. It's not about jumping. It's about loading. It's about getting energy pushed through the ground. So I want to show you this here. This is important. So as I change color so you can see it, as I load energy down, okay, the natural response is that energy then goes up. And that's what happens with the jump. But it's not about the height of the jump, right? Now, as I go up, organically, what you're going to find is that my racket, too fast, way too fast. My racket organically goes down. All right. So there's the load, loading the legs. I jump up, the racket falls down, and I'm landing on that non-dominant foot with my right foot kicking back. That part is really, really, really important. Okay. So this is the pinpoint. Show you one more here. So the loading phase does not change other than whether your back foot pulls up or it stays back, but you can see the loading phase there as I work through the serve. Now, platform, the feet are just staying apart, but the loading phase stays the same. So there's the bend, loading phase, hand up towards the chin. You can tell, and a lot of people have asked this, like, yes, I'm lagging the racket, what that means is that I'm just keeping the racket on my dominant side. Why do I do that? Well, the longer your racket lags, the more racket head speed it's going to pick up. So from here, as I accelerate up, now the racket just has farther to travel on the right to left. All right, and the last piece, and this is maybe most important. Look, I'm 47. That's like what
you are.
You 41 now?
41.
41. I'll be 48 in 2 months.
You owe it.
Hip injuries, knee injuries. I could go on and on. Jumping is not something. Yes. Yeah, jumping is not something that I'm doing a ton of. Like, I'm not getting super hot. And we work with a lot of individuals that have the same similar injuries or other injuries where they just can't load and then get up and down to where they're landing on a particular joint. So you can still do this without having an excessive jump. We're going to show you that now. Vanna.
Speaking of getting older, man, Vanna's been revealing letters for like 40 years.
Oh, no, it's crazy. So we can all clearly see that I'm still loading, right? How do we know that I'm loading energy down? Well, my knees are bent. My back heel is up. That tells you that I'm pushing through the ground, right? Now from here, as I go up to get the ball, I could slide a credit card under that bend, right?
Sick up.
Or after that jump. So it's like a barely like an inch hop, but I'm still loading and getting plenty of energy moving up. And that's the key. Loading energy down and then rocket hit speed.
Do you make sure you guys hear this too? Because I think a lot of rec players think they've got to jump really high off the ground to get power from their legs. Again, we've said it once or twice throughout the challenge. Power from your legs comes from the pushing against the ground. It comes from the resistance. It doesn't come from skying into the air. In fact, one of the only benefits really to getting higher in the air is creating a little more margin over the net. Like obviously, if you're 8 feet tall, it'd be a bit easier to serve up over the net. So the extra sort of hop you're getting or the clearance off the ground is aiding you in margin for error over the net by like millimeters. It is not necessarily adding any more power if you're not pushing into the ground.
I was talking with a current college player not too long ago, and he was like, well, what about, how do you explain Ben Sheldon? Yeah, of course, man. Like Ben Sheldon, he's just loading a whole lot more energy and corkscrewing with how low he is getting. And the jump is the byproduct of how much energy he's loading down.
And
we're not saying you don't have to jump
the ball just as big if he didn't jump as high. I think people would be confused to hear that, right? Like the huge coil and windup that he gets is where all of his power comes from. It's not, the power doesn't come from the fact that he left the ground in more inches than the average bear here. Watch this deep knee bend and coil. Like the push, all the power is released there where his feet haven't even really extended off the ground too much yet. That's the power. Now he's a superhuman athlete, so he so happens to cap it off with jumping way up in the air.
Yeah. I mean,
creating some more margin for error for himself.
It's ultimately like the rate in which the hip rises, right? Well, so if he starts from a low point to where his hip gets low, right there, there's a really low point. How fast that back hip rises as he jumps up, that's the power exchange, right?
Guys, now is a great time. Day 5, like we said, is short. This is where we try and wrap everything up. We've already kind of done the full days 1 through 4 recap. So we are going to open up the floor and just really answer questions until everybody has got all of their questions answered. Nate, do you want to kind of run them through, the last section of this workbook here, the full serve, like how we would sync this all up?
Yeah, so
you want to go demo mode or how do you want to?
Yeah, let me
And guys, just fire any questions that you have away. We always, and this happens every time we run one of these serve challenges, we have pretty low attendance today. It's always on a Friday. So any question you ask, we are going to have the time to answer it based on what I'm seeing in the chat right now.
All right, so Felix Algier, Ali Yassim, let's go through it step by step, right? So the full serve. So 1, does he have a continental grip? You bet he does. His stance. You can see here the back foot. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. Accidentally touched the bar. All right, now I can do it. So the back foot getting lined up. You can see the line's not exact. I was trying to avoid skipping the bar. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Tell you what, I'm going to use a different example because the grass court is really tough to see with the lines. Let's go everybody's favorite bad boy. This should be a lot easier. So let's go back here. So continental grip, absolutely. His stance is a little bit unusual to where his front foot points forward a little bit, but he's still, you can see the back foot aligned, the back toe aligned with the front heel is still a thing. Now from here, you get this super slow. As he works up to the ball, the tossing arm leads. Now this part is important. I want to point out 2 things that are massive. 1, look at the direction of his head. This is what we've talked about over and over again. You don't need to look down at the ball. That creates a hitch. Just keep your eyesight up. And if the eyes are up, your body's going to go up. If the head stays up, your arm's going to stay up. The second thing to point out is his arm, how straight it's going to stay throughout the serve. Okay, so as he works up now with the tossing arm leads by quite a bit. This is unusual. This is not something you see for rec players with the tossing arm leading quite this much. But now this is where we're going to see the racket moving from right to left as a righty. So as his racket works up, you're going to know the racket stays at like a 45 degrees, pretty close to it. The palm stays down. And right there, we reach the power position. Now, from the power position, what we're looking for is to draw this line from the tossing hand to the hitting elbow. That axis, that is what we're looking at. That degree or the angle is what we're looking at for really big power, right? If you can tell, like if the tossing hand didn't get up, what you would see is a lower degree of the angle between the hitting elbow and the hand, and therefore not as much power. Now from here, we know he's loaded energy, knees are bent, heels are up. And now remember, as he loads energy down, boom, boom, energy is then going to go up, boom, boom. And as a result, pay attention to the racket. The racket is organically going to fall down. This is kind of the cartwheel effect, if you will. And so now as he jumps up, he leads with the elbow. This piece was super important. Right? So this is why we had you do the drill. If you just toss the ball to right about there, the elbow is going to lead up to it. If your elbow leads up to the ball, organically you're going to get a racket drop as long as the grip is loose. Now here he's getting some spin on the serve, but you're still going to see that he leads with the edge of the racket right here, the edge of the racket. Leads the ball, it flips over, it makes contact. He's getting some spin here, some top spin, because you can tell he's going from left to right with the stroke. But the arm is extended, right? Arm fully extended and shoulders staggered. Now from here, he'll pronate. The racket goes out this way, and you will see the thumb go down as he gets into internal shoulder rotation. Now, the important piece of internal shoulder rotation is, remember, the elbow stays up and then the racket drops down. From here, because you don't want to break your shoulder, this is really like when coaches talk about the snap, the wrist gets here, and as the elbow stays up, this is what they're referring to. Big power comes from internal shoulder rotation, not just snapping your wrist. And from here, what you'll see is that the racket will then move across his body. And he lands on his non-dominant foot, and the right foot kicks back. And that is the serve from A to Z.
Well done, my dude. And after all of that, we have one question from Bruce. So we're going to answer this one question from Bruce, and I guess carry about on with our Friday. Bruce says, what is poor side on position?
I don't know, Bruce. I'm stumped. Poor side on position. I wonder if that is just my lovely accents making you misunderstand what I said, or maybe that's terminology another coach uses. I'm afraid I don't know. Bruce, if you want to take a minute and just clarify, I'm happy to try to answer it.
For sure. We'll give you a second here, Bruce. And guys, any other questions? This is your last chance to get them from us live. You said from the Kovacs drill.
Poor side. Yeah, I don't know. From the Kovacs drill. Not sure. Maybe I misspoke. Oh, from the Kovacs. Oh, he's referencing the work that Kovacs did with Will Hamilton. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know what they talked about. I've studied kind of what Kovacs has done, but I'm not familiar with that term. Poor side, if I'm guessing, poor side would be your non-dominant side. Probably an Aussie thing, since Kovacs is an Aussie.
Guillermo says, I must confess, I was a little skeptical on Monday and Tuesday. We understand we're not very trustworthy. I then started following these steps, and my first serve improved throughout the week. Fantastic. However, my second serve deteriorated a bit. Any tips for a second serve? I'll go very basic level, and then you come in with someone who's smarter than I am. So one of the things that I harp on in my own personal sort of coaching philosophy is that your flat and your slice serve are very much the same thing. The only thing that is adjusting is the way your racket impacts ball at contact. This being flat, this being slice, and there's a lot of options in between. You're not going to hit totally flat. You're not going to hit totally slice. There's varying degrees of flat versus slice that you can impart on the ball. When you're hitting your second serve, what we would like you to do is exactly what we're teaching you here mechanically, but geared towards generating spin instead of power, right? And this is why we're so big on teaching slice for the second serve, is because the more revolutions you can put on the ball, the safer it gets under pressure. Spin keeps the ball on the court. We haven't talked at all about the kick serve. But a lot of the mechanics that we talked through to generate power are the same for the kick serve. The big change being the toss relocation back behind our head, and us, instead of trying to come directly behind the ball or around the ear, coming up from the back. So on your second serve, I think my guidance would certainly be, depending on your skill level, I would almost default to slice and all of the mechanics we just covered in this week, with the only adjustment really being what happens with your racket at contact. Depending on how good you are, I don't even really start to introduce a kick serve until students are reaching like a pretty strong 4.0 level. What are your thoughts? Anything else you would cover?
Just make sure you're not decelerating. Like the difference between a first serve and a second serve is usually more spin, right? So the mechanics should largely stay the same, but I think just tossing back to your racket, getting the habit that you're kind of thinking about tossing to your back pocket, you're automatically going to get some more top spin on it, but don't decelerate. Keep accelerating through it and give it time, right? You put it in practice. Don't just get out in a match and try it. Put it in practice on the practice court. But appreciate you saying nice things, and I'm glad we can make you a believer.
Most definitely. Guys, thank you for tuning in. We have been asked in our DMs over the last few days, how do we come train with you? This is how. We do have a serve workshop coming up here in Virginia Beach in October, and there is a handful of other things that we do. I think we almost always offer training in Indian Wells when we're out there for the BNP. I believe in 2026, we'll be doing something both in DC and maybe in New York for the City Open and then the US Open. So go check that out if it's something that you say, hey, these guys seem to know what they're talking about. I want to go work with them and have them take a look at my strokes. This is how you do it. Guys, thank you. That is all. Oh, wait. Couple questions. Not going to leave you hanging. I have a great racket drop on my shadow swing, but have an arm only, no racket drop. What can I do? Richard, I might be misinterpreting what you're asking, but I believe what you're saying here is your shadow swing looks really fluid and you have a great racket drop, but then when you introduce the ball in real life, things tighten up. Tell me if that's not it, but I'm going to go ahead and proceed, assuming that is what you're saying. 99 times out of 100, what I'm seeing in this exact situation is you're introducing tension into your hand once the ball gets involved. And so if you go back to day day 3, where we talked all about rhythm, we talked about a drill called the 3-finger drill, which sort of forces gravity to let that elbow fly up and create that pro level racket drop. And if you go hit a lot of serves with just 3 fingers on the racket and feel that racket drop, and then very softly add your bottom 2 fingers back, I have almost always found this corrects that disparity between a shadow swing looking really fluid and then tension creeping in when there's actually a ball involved. So would highly, highly recommend that you try that.
The one thing I'll just add is separate the racket and ball in the beginning. Remember, like you want to create a new groove when you're working on a technique. So when you're doing the shadow swings, everything stays nice and loose. And then I have a feeling when you go to hit the serve, you go back to the same habits. If your ball and racket start together, they're going to work together. You're going to fall right back into the old groove and that muscle memory. Separate them. Be okay starting from here and just work through the motion, abbreviating it.
For sure. Tyrone asking some more questions about the recordings. Difference between the $49 package and there's an upgrade that is $98. Yes. So the $49 package is just the recordings of what we just did here plus the workbook that you see us keep referencing. The $98 option is all of that plus a course that we filmed that goes into a bit more detail on more than just power. It goes into more detail on, all the other things that you guys
talk about the kick serve, the slice serve a little bit more in depth. The serve accelerator course.
Serve accelerator course. Yep. So that's what's going on with the 98. And I'll show some of these thank yous on the screen. We really appreciate you guys. Great content, awesome videos. PDF will help a ton on court. Nice. Appreciate that. Richard, thank you for watching. Tim, thank you for watching. Tyrone, thank you for watching. And I could show you for days, but we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully we'll get to see you again. We don't do a whole lot of live stuff, but hopefully you guys are watching our YouTube channel.
We're going to be doing more. We got some more on the
That's true. We got to
once we finish the other 30 things we're working on.
Exactly right. And we are, I will tease this a little bit. We are getting ready to build something called the 4.0 Club. And the 4.0 Club is going to be, hey, Nate and I are old. We've been teaching tennis a really long time. If you combine, I think our coaching, it's almost 50 years of combined coaching knowledge. We've seen a lot of stuff. It's pretty clear to us what it takes to become a 4.0, and it's not a lot of what we actually see rec players working on. So we have actually already built out the exact curriculum of what we believe you need to do, like the exact boxes you need to check to guarantee you would get to a 4.0 level. So be on the lookout for that. It's probably still a couple months away from releasing it, but Nate and I have collaboratively built the whole plan out here, and we are starting to film it, and we'll even drip a little bit of the teaser content out on our Instagram and YouTube. So appreciate you guys. Be on the lookout for that. If you're not a 4.0, we're going to get you there in 2026. Anything else to say to the people?
Just thank you so much for joining us. And I see you. Thanks for doing the drills. That's awesome. And everyone else that has been here, we really appreciate it. And we'll see you soon.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. Later.